during the press conference, but anybody can individually post-conference interview with someone at that individual's discretion. So we ask that you respect that, but if anyone would like to share their stories, they are welcome to. As I said earlier, domestic violence is not a hidden issue. Often survivors are pushed into the shadows, but it's important to note that this is a community crisis. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience physical violence from a partner sometime in their life. In addition to that, women are 5 times more likely to be killed by an abusive partner when that abuser has access to a firearm. 1 in 5. And I say that because Abda is at the forefront of fighting for court protections against such violence right now. And there's a critical case before the Supreme Court addressing just that. So Abda, we are with you 110%. Before I bring up our stalwart in the fight for domestic violence, Abda's CEO, Maisha, I have to say that her vision and her dedication have been instrumental to Abda's achievements. And my personal story with Abda, I don't know if there's anyone in the community that hasn't been impacted by this organization in some way, though you may not know it. I was taught very early on by women in my life involved with Abda the difference that they make, not just but for survivors and not just for their families, and not just even in destigmatizing domestic violence. And for those in the media, that is something that we are seeking to do today with these billboards, with the messaging and sharing out of resources, but also in talking to abusers. Stemming the root means dealing with the root causes of that and working with those that are prone to abuse. So this is a holistic approach, and I could not be more grateful for the work that the City of Houston is doing, Menal, what Clear Channel is doing, the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, Abda, our partners in law enforcement, and of course, our athletes. But I will say y'all are more than just athletes. Oftentimes y'all are propped up on a pedestal just for that. But Tari, you and others are out in the community every single day doing the work for our city. So we appreciate you, we appreciate your family, and we appreciate your leadership. And with that, I'm proud to bring up Maisha Coulter.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Kamen. Thank you everyone for being here and joining us this morning for this opportunity to serve our community. Abda has been serving Houston and the greater Houston community for more than 43 years. And what we want you to know is that our mission is to end domestic violence by advocating for those who are surviving domestic abuse, holding those who abuse accountable, and educating the community about what domestic violence does to all of us. It is so important to us that we allow people to be heard and to have the opportunity to change their circumstances. And one of the things that allows us to do that is by having these opportunities for people to know that we are here and that we are here for you. Abda provides free legal representation to survivors of domestic abuse in family court. So when a person needs a protective order, a divorce, custody, child support, we're there as their advocate. We also provide the state's largest BIP program. BIP stands for Battering, Intervention, and Prevention Program. And what that does is it allows people who are making the unfortunate choice to hurt someone that they call and say that they love by using violence, by being controlling in their behavior toward that individual, the opportunity to make better choices. BIP is available to anyone. Oftentimes we do see individuals who come to us because there has been court intervention or law enforcement has been involved with that person, but anyone can choose to make a difference and make a change in themselves and ultimately in their relationship and impact their family and their children and our community in a positive way. So we invite you to call us in regard to our BIP program. Besides BIP and our legal services, we also have the opportunity to educate anyone who wants to know more about domestic violence, what it is, and how it impacts us all. And our CAP team is everywhere that we can be. We're a very small team, but very mighty. So they are in schools all over the ISDs, so HISD, Fort Bend ISD, and others. They are giving children the opportunity to learn in advance what a healthy relationship looks like. And so we also ask that if anyone is interested in having our services in your school where your children attend, or a school where you know children need to have that level of education, please call us. Those programs are free to the school districts, and what they do is provide evidence-based education about healthy relationships, holding people accountable when you see something, saying something, in terms of holding their own friends and peers accountable. The other thing that I want you all to know this morning is that we can't do what we do without the partnerships that are represented by the individuals that are here alongside me on the podium. And so I really want to just say publicly, thank you to every single person who stands beside me and Abda in terms of the fight toward ending domestic abuse. You're going to hear from them and how they function in the community in a way that will help to hopefully reduce the incidence of abuse in our community. Also, they will talk about their own personal stories. And so I just want you all to listen with an open heart. And again, recognize that Abda is here and hopefully a strong resource for everyone to be able to take advantage of if you have a need. The first person that I'm going to introduce this morning is Tyree Eason. Tyree is a Rockets player. He was a rookie last year, and he is definitely going to be a strong force for us locally here, and we're cheering him on. But the thing that I'm cheering him on about the most is his involvement and his deliberate interest in doing something about domestic violence. He is going to share his story, or a portion of his story, with us this morning. But when he moved here to Houston, he and his mother did their research, and they sought out an organization that they could align themselves with that would ultimately help them to be an impact in the community that they're living in, and ultimately help them to do the thing that they really want to do, which is to change and reduce the incidence of domestic abuse in all families. So Tyree, thank you so much.
I'm going to grab this water out of your way.
Hello? Hello?
I'll have to pull it up. Yeah. You might have to hold it.
Hold it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out here today in support of Abda and this ever-necessary cause. My name is Tari Eason. I play for the Houston Rockets, and I'm just here to tell you guys a story about how domestic violence has kind of shaped me and my family's life. When I was younger, there was an incident in which I got into with a girl where she kicked me so hard that it was difficult for me to stand up. I was told later this is because she liked me. Now, as embarrassing as it was, my mom did not see this as the case. She told me that it was an act of violence, and just because she was a girl did not make it okay. I didn't understand at the time why my mother was so passionate about the subject until she told me the story of her Aunt Yvonne. My mom told me that she looked up to her Aunt Yvonne. She wanted to be just like her. She was beautiful, kind, and a dancer. On Mother's Day 1993, my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and other family members gathered in church to celebrate that beautiful holiday. What my mother, grandmother, aunts, cousins did not know is that this would be the last time, or one of the last times, that they would be seeing their grandmother, their aunt, their sister, and their cousins. Shortly after my grandmother and my mother had left my great-grandmother's dinner, my Aunt Yvonne's estranged husband came and murdered her and my great-grandmother my mother always told me that domestic violence is not okay. She always told me the importance of knowing when it's serious and knowing when to get help. And thanks with the help of AVIDA over the past 40 years with their advocacy, I've really gotten the chance to learn the other side of things. Learning the other side is not easy to understand because I have lost family from domestic violence, but you understand that the attacker usually starts off as the victim, and it's a cycle. So I'm here, my family's here to just try to do all we can and speak up and advocate and try to eradicate domestic violence and family violence for all people. Thank you.
Thank you, Tari, for your strength of character and your strength to be able to share that information to the community. I know that it will make a difference. Thank you. Next up, we will have one of our clients who has had the opportunity to use our services, and we hope that they have been so impactful to her and her family. First, we will hear from Michelle. Pronounce your last name, Michelle. Ablenor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Abdelnour, and I want to start off by thanking each and every one for listening. It is because of all the support, bringing awareness to domestic violence that I am here able to stand before you to share my story. 4 years ago, I swiped right on a popular dating app. Little did I know that my life would change forever. Within weeks of meeting this man, he became verbally abusive, and despite attempts in severing ties, he wouldn't let me go. He frequently called my personal and business cell phones as well as my office until I would finally pick up. He apologized repeatedly, but it rapidly escalated to physical abuse. I told him it was over, and I decided to press charges and not answer any calls. The evidence was so that Harris County granted me a lifetime protective order. I thought it was over, but it was just the beginning. He contacted me via phone, email, and all social media platforms. He then started following me. He would hide in the parking lot at my job and my apartment, waiting for me to walk out to and from my vehicle before approaching me. I was advised that this was stalking and decided to press charges again. He was sent to jail for several months, but began reaching out when he was released. I eventually let him back into my life. The abuse quickly picked up, and I knew I made a mistake. I tried to get away from him, but he persisted. After ignoring his calls, I spotted him one morning walking to my car. He drove closer to me, got out, and charged me. I struggled for my life, but eventually was able to call police. He was arrested and convicted for a felony stalking charge, 2 misdemeanor family assault charges, and 1 misdemeanor violation of protective order. I thought it would finally end, but I was wrong. He began contacting me again after he was released from prison. At this point, I came to the realization that he would never stop chasing me. Despite all the attempts to seek legal protection and telling him to please let me go, I felt I was completely let down and without any control over my life. Exhausted from all these years of trying to fight this, I allowed him back in. The last time he put his hands on me was December 2022. I begged him to let me go and said I would not press charges. He eventually found out where I moved to and followed me there. It wasn't until recently, when he was apprehended for additional charges and for violating my protective order yet again, that he slowed down on the attempts to contact me. I was informed by authorities that he is currently out on bond and ordered to wear a GPS ankle monitor. This journey has been scary, unpredictable, lonely, and shameful. It wasn't until I connected with Abda that I realized I am not alone. It has been a turning point in this real-life nightmare. Within minutes of speaking with Abda, I felt validated and supported. I was given insight into the complex dynamics of abusive relations and have received immense support from other survivors I've connected with through their counseling services. I was not only understood, but recognized for the strength it took to endure the abuse and to continue to fight to get away. Not only can I openly speak about my journey without any judgment, but my story is also received from a place of understanding, care, and encouragement. If you are in an abusive relationship or think you may be, you are not alone. Give yourself the opportunity to connect with Abda. If my story can inspire just one person, it was all worth it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for sharing your journey. What I'm so grateful for is that we do have people on our staff who are able to help transform situations like Michelle's and basically help her emotionally. Because that is a big part of what happens with the people who we are serving. They are having not just the physical assaults, but the emotional turmoil that sometimes puts them in a place of paralysis. They can't function on a daily basis. So trauma counseling is also one of the things that we do, and we have groups and support groups so that like-minded people with like experiences can get together and hold each other up. Again, we encourage anyone to reach out for all of those opportunities. Next up, we have Alejandra, who's also a survivor and a client who received our services, and she's going to share her story in Spanish.
Good morning. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing your story. Buenos días, mi nombre es Alejandra y estoy aquí para compartir mi historia con la audiencia hispana. Hace tiempo atrás me di la oportunidad de conocer a un hombre que parecía muy educado, inteligente, carismático. Viéndolo más como un amigo, él poco a poco fue ganándose mi confianza hasta un punto de yo envolverme en una relación sin darme cuenta, totalmente llena de manipulaciones malvadas, en donde yo era la víctima y no lo sabía. Así empezó mi historia de violencia doméstica, de una manera muy sutil, sin golpes al principio, por lo menos al principio. En esa relación había un nivel alto de abuso psicológico y emocional. Los golpes llegaron tiempo después, y aunque no eran todos para mí directamente, ya que las paredes y las mesas eran mi escudo, los que me protegían de mi agresor. Mientras que mi mentalidad fuerte, mi personalidad alegre, iban desvaneciéndose con el pasar de los días, yo sentía que me hundía en un estado de tristeza que no entendía. Y ya no era esa mujer activa, esa mujer alegre, trabajadora, con metas, sino por el contrario, empecé a sentir que caía dentro de un hoyo lleno de oscuridad y pesadez. Y aunque siempre estuve tratando de terminar esa relación sentimental, era bastante difícil cortarla. Para mí era más importante ayudar a alguien que lo necesitaba y él me necesitaba, o por lo menos eso era lo que él me hacía creer. El hecho de ver sufrir, llorar y rogarme al hombre que a la misma vez venía a humillarme, me hablaba con palabras llenas de odio, que controlaba mi manera de vestir, el mismo hombre que trató de hacer suyo mi proyecto de trabajo, ese hombre con su manipulación logró que yo me mantuviera en un estado de confusión y que no me permitía aceptar que estaba viviendo en una relación de violencia doméstica y que la persona que necesitaba ayuda y la víctima era yo. Ese hombre con sus manipulaciones podía ser carismático, engañar a las personas, no nada más a mí. Él era encantador en público, siempre con una fachada de amabilidad que ocultaba su verdadera naturaleza. Y esto hacía mucho más difícil para mí cuando yo buscaba ayuda entre sus amigos, entre las personas y familiares, ya que nadie me creía. Para él no era suficiente borrar mi confianza y destruir mi autoestima. También intentó aislarme de mis amigas. En esto él fracasó, ya que para mí mis amigas son mi familia y son parte importante de mi vida desde que vivo fuera de mi país de origen. Durante el tiempo que estuve en esa relación, me sentí espiada, asfixiada, acechada, siempre con la sensación de estar en riesgo, de estar en peligro. Esto afectó mi salud, incluso mi peso corporal. Varias veces intenté terminar la relación, pero él no lo aceptaba, hasta el día que se mostró más violento. Ese día decidí buscar ayuda. En internet encontré el número de Abda, esta organización de ayuda a las mujeres que sufren de violencia doméstica. No solo me representó legalmente, también me apoyaron, me escucharon, me entendieron mi situación. Gracias a la representación legal que me brindaron, logré obtener una orden de protección y mi divorcio. En Abda me ayudaron a reconocer que mi voz cuenta, que como mujer tengo derechos y que no estaba bien aceptar maltratos, ni golpes o agresiones sexuales en el matrimonio, ni en ningún tipo de relación. Abda me demostró que las sobrevivientes de violencia doméstica no estamos solas, que aunque sintamos miedo, debemos educarnos en estos temas y atrevernos a buscar ayuda. Por muy difícil que haya sido lo que hemos sufrido, siempre tendremos la oportunidad de volver a salir adelante. Gracias.
Thank you again, Alejandra. Now I will call a good friend in this fight, Amy Smith, who is from Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Maisha, for including us today. First of all, I would just like to say to Tari, Michelle, and Alejandro, y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have to share Domestic Violence Awareness Month with breast cancer, which is still an important cause. But what we know is that it's not just in October when we should recognize domestic violence. It's not just in October when we should support domestic violence services. Every single day, survivors are living in their homes, which are a battlefield on domestic violence. It is important to remember and to support our survivors, not just during October, but all through the year. It's also important for us to honor those that have lost their lives to domestic violence. Harris County leads the domestic violence homicides in the state. That is number one we do not want to be a part of any longer. We are working together as partners with Abda, with the District Attorney's Office, with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, with the Houston Police Department, with several community partners, trying to figure out how can we stop domestic violence homicides. We are grateful to the City of Houston for giving the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council money to help toward that cause. We are also grateful to Commissioners Court at Harris County for giving the Domestic Violence Assistance Fund, where we are able to help domestic violence survivors one gift card at a time. And it is important to note that this is a month when we honor, when we celebrate, and we remember. But I want to leave you with this. The most important people in this fight are our survivors. They are the strongest, most dedicated members of our community. They did everything they could to survive. We are not here to judge what they did. We're not here to tell them what they did was wrong. What we know is they did what was best for them to survive and to get to the other side. We want them not only to survive, but we want them to thrive. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for sharing your stories. And now it is my honor and privilege to introduce State Representative Yolanda Jones, who has been so important to Harris County in so many different elected positions over the years. And it's my honor and my pleasure to recognize her not only as our state representative, but as a survivor herself.
Good morning. My name is Yolanda Jones. I'm the state representative for House District 147. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm the state representative for House District 147, which you're actually standing in now, so welcome. But I'm a survivor. I'm extremely lucky to be alive. I've been strangled. I've been raped. I've been extorted for money. I've been locked in my house with a deadbolt where I couldn't leave. So the first thing I'd like to say to you is please don't ever ask somebody who was a victim of domestic violence why they stayed, because that's blaming the victim. Please don't ask them why they didn't leave. That's blaming the victim. If you don't think that we're beating up on ourselves because we're stuck in a situation we can't get out of, then you're wrong. There's so many things I want to say. I am a client of AVIDA, or I was a client of AVIDA. I was in a relationship for almost 6 years. And through AVIDA, I was able to learn that if I stayed in that relationship, that my son would learn that behavior and he was more likely to be an abuser and have a whole bunch of really bad outcomes. And it's funny because I used to beat myself up because I didn't have the courage to leave my ex-husband because he was beating me and raping me and cheating on me and just doing all this stuff. I left him because I didn't want my son to grow up to be like him, his father. So my grandmother always said, sweetheart, be thankful you loved him enough, loved your son enough to leave him. Because they teach us to blame ourselves for stuff. Don't judge us by what we look like. When I met my ex-husband, I was a 4-time United States champion in the heptathlon. I was a straight A student. I was a college graduate. I had a good job. I had, I think, 2 Yolanda Jones days in the city of Houston. So you think people are strong and you think that would never happen? It happens to all of us. Also, if somebody is strong enough to come out of it, don't say, well, what did you do, Yolanda? I know you smart. I know you ain't just let him put his hands on you. For the record, I never put my hands on my ex-husband. He played basketball. He was drafted by the Sixers. 7'1", 265 pounds. I was never going to win that fight anyway. And so there's just a bunch of things I want to say. So I want to say AVIDA does so much, in my respectful opinion, the best domestic violence organization in probably the state, maybe in the nation. So if you have money to donate, you need to donate to AVIDA because they provide services. If you are married to your abuser, they will get you out of the marriage. If you need to be protected from your abuser, they will go to court and get a protective order for you. They have group counseling. They have individual counseling. They have counseling for your kids. So I'm not surprised that you figured out that you're not alone and you have people who understand what you're going through and they're not going to judge you. Let me put my glasses on because I can't see. I can tell you that November 8th, 1995 was the last day he laid his hands on me. And that sounds nice. It was way more brutal. And emotional abuse, and they start off, they are like your Prince Charming because they listen to you and they become who you tell them you want them to be. And then you're in love with them and it's just hard to get out. I called the police whenever I thought I was going to die, when he strangled me and I couldn't breathe and I was passing out. Charges got filed, but then he talked me back into the relationship and I didn't follow up, which happens a lot. I think it takes us 7 times to finally have the courage to leave. And something else you need to know, we are in the most danger of dying when we're leaving. I'm going to say that again. We are in the most danger of dying when we're leaving. So if you are family or friends of somebody that's in one of those relationships, don't tell a boyfriend or girlfriend where they at, right? Because there are other people who can be involved and die, like I think your great-grandmother. And I'll end with this. My Aunt Donna K. Dennis was a victim of human trafficking. She got back then they called her a prostitute. She was a victim. Her pimp got her, her trafficker got her when she was 13 years old. And in 1983, In 1984, she was murdered by her pimp on the corner of Palm and Delano. So this topic is super, super, super important to me because all three of my cousins who that was their mom, they have all had really bad lives, really bad lives. So I'm always going to be here. I want to thank Clear Channel because they have signs everywhere. And they don't have to show domestic violence messages because people don't understand. And like your mother taught you, violence is bad, but emotional abuse is debilitating. I literally did not make the Olympic team because I allowed my ex-husband, then boyfriend, to talk me into not defending my 1989 United States Championship. And I retired from track at 23 because he was jealous. So don't judge people, be supportive of people, direct them to AVIDA. Houston Area Women's Center refers people to AVIDA. And you know what, I participated in what's now called BIP. It was called Pivot before that, where I had to learn. So there's no way I was gonna ever miss this. I'm an end domestic violence advocate until the day I die. And I'll be supportive of you. I refer clients to AVIDA. So I just want to thank you, Maisha. I want to thank everybody who does this because it's very hard. It's not nearly as easy as you think to get out of it. It's just not. And so just be supportive and just don't blame them for staying in the relationship. Just tell them you'll help them get out or they deserve better. Because a lot of times we just don't think we're worth anything. So thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Manil. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name, Manil. Manil Davis from the mayor's office. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Meenal Davis. I'm with the mayor's office. He couldn't be here today. You always come with your comments, and then you hear amazing stories like this of resilience and power and victory over circumstances many of us could not imagine. So then you throw your notes to the side. So I'm just going to do a very quick thing about the mayor's office and the resources that are available. The mayor's made a lot of money available to fight domestic violence through the Houston Police Department, but also through our division here, where I do a lot of the policy work and, of course, now a lot of the funding work in the domestic violence space. So far, we've issued a NOFA, which is a Notice of Funding Announcement, so a grant that's available, and that was awarded to an organization called the Alliance in the amount of $750,000 to help prevent violence in communities of color, ethnic minorities, where we're seeing that it may be going unaddressed. The other thing is we have another funding announcement that's open right now, and we have all these requirements. You have to publish it in the newspaper, all of those kinds of things. But that award notice is providing funding up to $1.75 million for organizations fighting domestic violence. Amazing organizations like Abda and all the others in our city that work to help all of the people that you're hearing stories from today. So if that's something that's of interest, we would love to see your applications. I just want to thank you for including us today, Maisha.
Next up, we'll have another strong partner in this community and in this fight, Mary McFadden from the DA's office.
Hi, good morning, everyone. As was just mentioned, we all have notes, but I can't stand up here on behalf of the District Attorney Kim Ogg without saying thank you to all of our partners, to the survivors, to the voices that just ring out, right, every day. It's another billboard launch because we have not ended domestic violence. Every year we stand up here and say, this is the year. We're going to stop domestic violence. We're going to end homicides. We're going to hold harm doers accountable. And we're here again another year. So as we all stand up here on this hot, humid summer, or fall day, excuse me, right, it's fall now, I just want to thank everyone. But I want to call our attention to another month, another year, and let's hope that next year, as much as I appreciate the collaboration of everyone up here, wouldn't it be beautiful if we didn't have to be here? Wouldn't that be our beautiful goal for our city, for our county, for our state, for our nation? But it's only through the collaboration of everyone who's standing up here in front of you, from law enforcement to domestic violence providers to survivors who share their voices, that we as a community understand. From the district attorney's perspective, the first step is to stop judging victims, to thank survivors for coming forward, because it's only with the survivor voices that the perpetrators are accountable. A lot of victims go, well, I don't want them to be held accountable because it puts me in a position of them coming back, right? Or they're going to hold it against me. Or you know what? They're the father, the mother of my child. At the district attorney's office, we have a variety of programs. We have programs for low-level offenders that won't disrupt their lives long-term. And it's through collaborations with AVIDA, through the BIP program, that we hope to stop recidivism, which we know is rampant in domestic violence. To reprogram and relearn for those harm doers so that the next partner or the same partner isn't stuck in that cycle of violence and can have a happy life for themselves and for their children and for the remainder of their families. So through the district attorney's office, we have those low-level programs. Unfortunately, though, we have some of the worst punishments because we have some of the worst crimes. And these aren't crimes that are committed by strangers. These are crimes that are committed by people who tell us they love us, right? Intimate partner violence homicides. As Amy with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council mentioned, we lead year after year with the highest number of intimate partner violence homicides. That is not a number to be proud of. And let me tell you, the domestic violence fight in Harris County has a lot of things to be proud of. High-risk teams, pretrial interventions, collaboration across cities and counties. But we haven't done enough, and we aren't doing enough in the community yet to stop those homicides. So let's start by believing survivors. Let's start by having accountability. And all of that happens through the partners up here and through the community members who show up for jury trials, who show up for their friends and for their families and say, I believe you. At the district attorney's office, we understand and respect Houston's diversity. We have programs specifically for protective order applicants. So far, year to date, we've had over 3,500 people who have applied just to the district attorney's office for protective orders. And that's victims of domestic violence, of sexual abuse, and stalking. Over 3,500 have applied and asked for help. And we're only in October. We have months left to go, and the holidays are some of the highest violent months that we see. So we have programs to help get out into the communities. We have programs here downtown, and we just want everyone to know that the district attorney's office, the prosecutors, the social workers, the advocates, we stand by and work with every partner and every survivor to make sure that hopefully we're not back here next year. Thank you all so much.
Next up is our Sheriff Gonzalez.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. I'm joined here today by Major Suarez, Lieutenant Klafka, and Sergeant Smith. They are intimately involved with our domestic violence unit, and we appreciate their leadership. As we were standing here today and listening to the powerful testimonies and the wonderful information that we're sharing regarding partnerships, I was reflecting that right here as we sit or we stand in the foots of downtown Houston, these beautiful skyscrapers, there are people in there right now that are survivors that are in a domestic violence situation, because this is prevalent everywhere. It knows no boundaries, and it's also happening even in our schools because teens are also impacted by this issue. So it's incredibly important that we continue to raise awareness. Last year, here in our state of Texas, 204 lives were lost as a result of domestic violence. The majority of those lives lost came here from Harris County, with approximately 46. It's still the primary call for service that we have. Last year, we responded to 13,100 calls for service related to domestic violence. This year, we're already at 8,500 calls. It's a very dangerous call for first responders to go to, but it's also obviously equally impactful and dangerous for others that are around the situation. Here recently, on Mossy Oaks, a young, beautiful educator that was there to simply help a friend that was trying to get out of an abusive relationship lost her own life when she and her dog were gunned down and lost their lives out there. So we're going to continue to be out there fighting the fight and continue to be part of all efforts to raise awareness. And that's why it's so important to make sure that we have a community response to this. We appreciate and commend Lee Vela and Clear Channel Outdoors for the tremendous work raising awareness with the different marketing campaigns. Thank you, Lee, and Clear Channel Outdoors. Abda, another obviously critical partner. We're working closely with them to establish our own in-house batterers intervention prevention program. Yes, it's very important. And we've been working with them for 2008 to make sure that survivors and individuals that are impacted by domestic violence have that resource in the community that will help navigate this very dangerous time for them. And so they've been a tremendous partner and deserve all the support they can get. So please keep them in mind when you're looking at supporting an organization. Beyond that as well, we support their vision and idea that domestic violence is a community problem. It's a community epidemic that requires a community solution. And to do that, again, no one entity can solve it alone. Law enforcement can't solve it alone. The private sector can. The neighborhood-based organizations can. It's going to take a group effort, and we support that. And that's why we stand here to make sure that we're working collaboratively and being part of the solution, and that we continue to assess how we respond to domestic violence, that we make sure that we continue to send advocates to many of these scenes so we could support our frontline personnel that are trying to place them in safe shelter and meet the needs exactly where they're at. So that's something we're going to continue to do as well. And we're just going to continue to raise awareness. And as we heard earlier, it's a shame that we have to come every day. And it doesn't only happen in 1 month. It happens every single day. It truly is a pandemic. The access to guns is very dangerous as well. It just makes it that much more lethal. And so we're going to continue to stand with AVIDA and all the partners that are here today. I want to thank them for their advocacy and support and for really raising awareness here in our community that we will take a stand. It's not acceptable. It's against the law, and you will go to jail. Thank you. Sorry, I'll say it briefly in Spanish as well. Estamos aquí esta mañana porque estamos levantando la conciencia sobre el tema de violencia doméstica. Sabemos que es algo que impacta a todas las comunidades, pero también existe en nuestra comunidad latina y habla hispana, especialmente porque hemos visto las normas a veces del machismo y otras tradiciones que a veces personas se quedan en relaciones que son muy peligrosas para ellos. Y queremos que sepan que hay ayuda. AVIDA ha estado dando servicios en esta comunidad por más de 40 años. Nosotros como agencia policíaca hemos estado trabajando con ellos desde el 2008 para darle información al público, para que sepan que no están solas, que estamos aquí para apoyarlos. Esto realmente es un tema de vida y muerte. Vemos en muchas ocasiones donde las víctimas pierden su vida a manos de un abusador, y tenemos que cambiar ese comportamiento. Tenemos que avisar que está contra la ley y los culpables van a ir a cárcel, y también tenemos que proteger a nuestros niños, que muchas veces son testigos de la violencia que está pasando en la casa. Entonces les queremos pedir a todos que por favor sigan levantando la conciencia y apoyen a las organizaciones que se encuentran aquí, especialmente a AVIDA, que hace tanto en la comunidad. Muchas gracias.
Before I call Lee Vela up to the podium, I just want to say again, thank you to Clear Channel for all that you have done in the last probably 7 years that we've been doing this, maybe even 8. But I also want to give this clear message to those who had the opportunity to put this word out. AVDA's number is 713-224-9911. I've already talked to you about our services, but the thing that I forgot to say that is critical is that we can help you with safety planning. And safety planning is just that. It's individualized, and it's about your situation and your circumstances. But we can counsel you on the best way to safely leave a dangerous situation and give you the resources that you may need for that type of support. Sometimes people think that if they go to their relative or to their friend, that it'll be easy. But most times, harm doers know your relatives and they know your friends, and sometimes you need to exclude those from your safety plan. So please give us a call, even if you are still in the relationship and just thinking about what to do next. That can be the starting place, a real conversation with someone who can guide you to prioritize your safety and the safety of those who you love. Thank you so much again for coming out, and next we will have Lee Vela.
Thank you so much, Maisha. And as everybody said, you know, when you sit here and you stand here and you listen to these stories, and I've listened to them for this last 7, 8 years, excuse me, it's inspiring that these survivors have gotten through what they've gotten through. We do a lot of work with human trafficking as well, and we know that sometimes these things are interrelated. And so, you know, it's an important project for us as Clear Channel Outdoor to support, because as the sheriff said, it takes a community to come together and to help eradicate this from our community. Councilmember Kamen, thank you so much for hosting us here today. Representative Jones, thank you for being here as well, and all the other speakers. We donate a lot of public service advertising every year, and I know I say this a lot because it's true. Every campaign is important, but this one is one of the most important ones that we can do. So what you're about to see as we unveil these boards is the first of 24 boards that are going up right now as we speak, particularly on our digital products and our neighborhood boards and our freeway boards. So there'll be all 3 types of boards in the area. And it has potentially will be on 50 some odd boards through our digital networks as well. So the first month alone, October, Domestic Awareness Month, Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, it will generate over 17.7 million market impressions. That means a lot of people are going to see these messages. And Taryn, thank you so much for lending your image to this, because I think it's going to really bring a lot of attention to the situation. And this is part of the public benefit of what our industry billboards can bring to our community in bringing these messages that are so important for these folks to get help, to know that there's someone out there that can help them, that can provide the services that AVIDA does. Maisha and her group are incredible of what they do. I've learned so much about them over the years. So we're so proud to be a part of this. And so without kind of further ado, and I know I'm the last speaker, so I got to make this interesting. So we're going to start on this side. And if we get all the speakers, Sheriff, you can come over here. And Tari, come over here. We'll get on either side of the board. What? Survivors, yes, please. Manel, everybody get in. All right, Sheriff over here. And we'll do this on 3, okay? You got it? We're going to pull it down on 3. Taryn, there you go. 1, 2, and 3. How's it feel to be larger than life? All right, guys, everybody move over here on this side, and we'll do this one as well. We'll section it out. We got the tall one here. These messages are going to be in English and Spanish, and they'll be rotating around the area with that. So we'll do this in 1, 2, 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you so very much. We are proud to be a part of this, and thank you to everyone here that shared their messages and their stories today. Thank you. Maisha, do you want to say something?
Thank you again. If you have individual questions for anyone who was up at the podium, please feel free to seek them out and direct your questions to them. Thank you again.
So let's get some photos, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get some still photos.
Just ask.
papers. Yeah, you should have.
If they ask him questions, he'll